Welcome to Mic Check Waifu Waifu.
Mic check, waifu, King Telliano.
Is that you?
We got a review for you.
This is episode 278 of Mic Check Waifu. As always, it's brought to you by Patreon. Patreon.com/Mic Check Waifu is where you can get early access of the video version of this podcast. This is where you can get access to the Patreon exclusive podcast, The After Story, as well as the Patreon exclusive pre-show to every episode of Mic Check Waifu. You also get access to exclusive content like the reacts that Taylor posted. He did a reacts to a game battle video? Death battle video. So make sure you go to Patreon, check that out. There's also all kinds of content. There's a couple of free posts up there as well. Like recently, we just posted our review scale for your use. So if you're ever watching anime and you ever wanted to do like as objective of a review as possible, feel free to use our score sheet. It's on our Patreon. It's also in our Discord as well. Make sure you join discord.miccheckwaifu.com. We would appreciate you guys being a part of our community. Our community is special. Shout out to the community that keep the lights on. The Patreon producers, Christian, the archivist, Rob from Dad Needs to Talk podcast, Fear, Glaze Yams, Cad the Pro from Chaotic Culture, Explicitly, All for One, Matt Mazer, Altor, Monique Williams, Semi Sensei, Frozen, Rob Stone, our guy, and last but certainly not least, T, Money Fingers. Thank y'all so much for producing this and many of the episodes of the podcast. We couldn't do it without y'all. It means the world to us. Thank you so much. And all of our Patreon supporters. We really couldn't do it without y'all. So thank y'all so much for supporting us. Thank you. Big episode for you guys today. We are doing our review, as Tel mentioned earlier in the show. This time we're doing two movies, which is going to be interesting, a fun topic of discussion. That we both watched two movies each, and we did it in different order, so it's going to be two different perspectives, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I do think that's creative, very creative.
Very, very creative. So it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. Make sure if you ever want to be a part of our mid-season or end of season reviews, you join the Discord. You use the Mic Check Waifu review scale for your use and screenshot it. Why not screenshot it and just drop it in whatever the review thread is so we can see what your ratings was. We're going to get more into that later. But before we get into that, I do also want to mention that my boy Tail's sick. So if you hear some pauses throughout the podcast listeners, for the podcast listeners, obviously the video versions will see when Tail is coughing. But for the podcast listeners, if you get a little awkward silence, that's the reason why. It's no big deal. He sounds great. He looks great. But let's do this. First and foremost, the Anime Podcast is brought to you every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. CT. Tail, how you feeling? Besides sick.
Outside of the coughing and slightly scratchy, my throat actually feels way better than it has been. But I'm good. I'm a little stressed, and that's the first time you're gonna ever hear me say that. Now I only say I'm stressed, and it's kind of a good stress. It's a positive stress. I start my first programming course tomorrow. I thought I was gonna get a week off because of how the last class just ended. Nah, brother. They're like, yeah, you start November 25th at 11 p.m.
Which is the day before.
November 24th, 11 p.m. So it's right now.
Yikes.
In 6 minutes from when we saying this right now. And I'm like, I'm excited. I already got the Visual Studio downloaded so I can get started. I already been looking at my syllabus to kind of get prepped. So I'm super excited, super stoked. I just thought I was gonna have the week off like everybody else. Like, and granted, I don't really celebrate Thanksgiving or anything like that. So I mean, that part really don't make a difference to me. But
having a week off would still be nice.
Having a week off was about to be lit.
Yeah.
But It ain't happening. So I start my class tomorrow. I am excited though. I'm super excited. Like I can't even express how excited I am. I've been talking about it all day to my wife. Like Monique is tired of me. I know she gotta be tired of me. She's like, is this all you're gonna talk about? Yes. And you know this. This gonna be the rest of our life. You ain't gonna have to ever go to work again. Well, she don't go to work now, but you ain't gonna never have to not work. You ain't gonna never have to worry about working again. So I'm excited, bro. I'm super excited.
Dope. Yeah, man.
How you feeling, bro? Though?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Just knocked out I think I mentioned this last week. No, or did I beat it this week? I think I beat it this week, but I beat Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah.
Man, story beats was fantastic. The rest of it was poorly written, but decent game all the same. But been playing a lot of stuff. Romancing Saga 2 remake. Been loving that. Been getting into games a lot lately, so we got to get this gaming podcast started, but we got to get it scheduled and blocked out and stuff. So that's coming soon. Please stay tuned for that. Anyway, this is Anime Podcast episode of the week this week. Tell.
So I was struggling with this.
Really?
Yeah, with episode of the week. And I say that because I felt like outside of the regulars, right?
Right.
The ones that are always good.
Right.
There wasn't anything that really like hit me in the chest and said, "Oh, this is a really good episode this week."
What?
Yeah. But Talker.
I'm about to say that is an easy one. That Talker's there. I got a few.
Well, I'm talking about like it's easy for some of us to say specifically which ones. I'm just saying like sometimes I'm looking for something different. I'm looking for an episode to give me something like a surprise. And I hate to say it, this season hasn't been full of surprises other than like the anime that just have been better than we were expecting them to be. But yeah, my episode of the week is Talker.
Yeah.
Or the most notorious Talker.
I figured you would have picked that one, but I mean, Bluebox was incredible. Sama Show was absolutely incredible. Both of those sent me in.
I feel like those are obvious choices, though. You know what I mean?
It is what it is. I mean, it is what it is. If that's all we got, that's all we got. I even like MF Ghost. I love how unpredictable MF.
I ain't gonna say that.
I even love how unpredictable MF Ghost is. So I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Well, I don't know, bro. I thought it was. I ain't gonna say it was predictable because it wasn't. But the way that they pulled up at the end, I was like, "What's about to happen?"
Exactly.
We about to get I ain't gonna say sponsor, but
it's very interesting, and then it's cool. But Discord episode of the week this week again, was Don to Don for the second week in a row. Now the reason why
episode of the week,
I already said it. It was Bluebox.
Bluebox. Okay.
Yeah, Bluebox for sure. But yeah, Discord episode of the week was Don to Don, and this time it was not so positive as it was in days past. So let me just go to, I believe it was TCB. I think it was TCB. Both Katagami and TCB essentially said the same thing, but they basically mentioned that this episode wasn't it. This week that just passed. And I agree. But I just had to say, this is what I said to follow up on that. I said, this kind of, where is it? I think I want to get exactly what I said. I don't need to say anything about this episode that haven't already been said above me in the Discord. But I said, I think the point was made clear on the pod. The MCs, at least for now, can't carry this show yet. In our opinion, we know that this is different from how y'all feel. But yes, this is a perfect explanation. The perfect explanation to what we feel about this show. The main characters cannot hold up episodes as well as the antagonist can. Episode 7 was so great, even though it had very minimum speaking, because of the antagonist story that was told, the cinematography that was told within it. I don't think the show can carry because of its main characters. And Aya, whatever this new chick is, she stinks. She absolutely sucks. But Katagami tells me that, in his opinion, he's I think he said he read about 130 chapters, but he said, I felt the same exact way y'all do about her. She sucks at the beginning, but now I will kill for her. That's what he says. So that's a huge progression in the eyes of somebody who felt the same way we do.
Right.
However, for me personally, this show, it holding itself back in a lot of ways. Again, I want to state that we don't hate the character. I'm not, because I sound very harsh when I talk about the characters. I don't hate anybody. I just don't like them as much as I do in the past. Momo is my least favorite character in the entire show. Probably my least favorite protagonist, my least favorite protagonist of any shonen, period. And it's mostly because I just don't find her captivating in any way, more annoying than anything. What's up?
So, and I'm not saying this, but this is like, so, and it's okay to have different opinions and varying opinions.
Of course.
But like what Katagami said, I'm just going to read it. Mm-hmm. I love JJK and I have finished it, but at this point in season 1, I was ready to drop it. And I'm just going to say this. The reason that JJK...
Was he referring to JJK or was he referring to Don Da Don?
I love JJK and I have finished it, but at this point in season 1, I was ready to drop it.
Oh, okay.
That's JJK. So what I'm saying is this: one, it's hard to compare like your women protagonist, your girl protagonist, to what you have in Don Da Don, because Nobara, in my opinion, was amazing.
One of the best, yeah.
She was amazing. And Maki, I thought was great. There were no girl characters in this that felt like I just didn't want to deal with them.
Manga or anime. Yeah,
manga or anime. But let's even say like the guy characters, right? The only guy characters you don't like are the villains, and they're meant to be not liked. So for me, it's hard to say that. And we are a very character-driven podcast, yep. So we do that is something that's going to drive us. So I have to say, and it is a different perspective though. So we have different perspectives, but it's like, I don't know, bro. I can't even like. I read that and I'm like, I want to give it a chance, because if you think that these characters are on par or somehow even out to that, or if it's what is it? What I would like to know. Actually, I need to read this to know exactly. Is it the world that is sinking its teeth into you, or is it the characters? Because the characters are they're not locking me in, bro. They are not locking me in.
And I've conversated within this forum a lot with Katagami, and he is basically the characters. He says again, he felt the same way when he was reading it at first, that these characters suck. And then he even said, like, when we mentioned that they're just too loud and all this, et cetera, he felt the same way. But then obviously something happens within the manga that we are not privy to yet that makes him fall in love with them. And apparently there's one more person that's being added to this group, which I don't think is a good idea at all with the way the show is progressing. Like right now, everybody sucks. Everybody sucks. And so there's not much there's not much to anybody. And then the story, there's not much to that at all, because right now we're trying to find a fucking ball. Like, and then aliens are trying to take this man's banana. Like, it's not a good story being told within this series. The only good thing within the series so far is the yokai stories, is the Turbo Granny stories, is the Granny stories, and it's the long hair lady story. Like, that's the only thing that's been captivating me so far as like depth, because it has none at all right now.
And when we have things like the yokai just having an entrance and then not actually seeing what's happening or why they're having this entrance, it doesn't make the same impact as when we get like the development we had in the previous episode. Like, we went from that previous really, really good episode back to this. But what I was going to say is that you said they're adding one more character and you think they shouldn't.
Yes, no.
I think they have to, bro. And I say that because you need a balance. Because I'm only saying that because we already hate these characters so much. At least you and I don't know about the rest of the community, might love them. We already dislike these characters so much, they need something to balance them. Yeah, and I hope it's a character that's actually likable.
If to us, and I know this is us, and I know we're on the outside of this spectrum, like everybody that's listening to this right now is rolling their fucking eyes because our opinion right now sucks to them. But it's something. TikTok. Yeah, this is definitely a TikTok piece right here. There's something about having 3 terrible characters and adding another character and expecting it to be any better. Like, you're just going to have 4 terrible characters at this point. And 4 terrible characters aren't better than 3. I think personally, like, it's a strange dichotomy that I don't know. We don't know yet. These characters, something can change within this show that, you know, like Katagami said, he wanted to kill Arya at first, and now he will kill for her. Is essentially what he's saying. So there may be something there that flips, a switch that flips, but it ain't happening this season, and it probably won't happen this season with 3 episodes left. So I digress. All right. Moving on from Don to Don. Before we get to the review, let me finally discuss the Overlord movie that I've seen. I always forget the name of it. So I'm sorry, I'm looking for it in my adding list. What was that movie called? A Sacred Kingdom. Sacred Kingdom. Overlord Sacred Kingdom. Okay. I went to go see it at the Alamo Draft House on a solo trip. I just got myself some popcorn, sat in this nice little Alamo Draft House chair and relaxed and watched the movie and enjoyed it. I watched it dubbed because the dub is fantastic of Overlord, and this dub was also fantastic. So for those of you who are unaware, I'm a big Overlord fan. I do deep dives on Overlord and deep researches on Overlord and into like the manga, the light novels, all this shit. This movie was spectacular. It was absolutely spectacular. Do you need to watch it to understand the next season? I would say honestly, yes. And the reason why I say that is because it's not something that takes place after season 3. What it is it takes place in a small portion of season 3 that we don't see. So do you remember when they talked about the theocracy, right? Something happened at the theocracy, and that guy Paul or whatever his name was, or Pete or whatever the fuck his name was, attacked one of the kings, one of the Aizugon's caravans. Yeah, and he got destroyed by Albedo at the end. And they literally killed an entire kingdom because he decided to attack that caravan. So what it was that there was a moment that the Sacred Kingdom was at war with Beowulf, and that whole movie was about that war. That war was actually all Ainz, all of it was Ainz, even though, you know, Beowulf or one of his generals concocted the plan. It was a war that happened before the attack on his caravan. So that caravan that was going to help the Sacred Kingdom was attacked, and then they destroyed that kingdom, and it was at the end of season 4 season 3 spoiler. Sorry, but yeah, it was all a piece of the puzzle that we never got to see in season 3. But they talked about it in season 3, like, oh, the war that's going on over here, blah 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 blah, and they mentioned it in season 3. We never saw it. This was that war. And it was fucking incredible. I mean, it was basically the start of a propaganda movement with the Ainz community, or the Ainz like legacy or whatever. And it was just spectacular. It was, I mean, everything from animation and the character that was in it, the pacing of it was great. It was just a phenomenal movie, and I can't wait till you see it, so we can actually talk about it more. But it was incredible. It was like, I was shocked at how good it turned out to be, in my personal opinion. It didn't get really that high of ratings, shockingly, but it was good. And it was, funny enough, it was a lot of people there too. I mean, at the movie theater, a lot of solo people. It was me, Gap, a person, Gap, another person, Gap, another person. It was just a bunch of solo people just coming to watch that movie. It was awesome. It was awesome.
Dang. If you had to give it an impromptu score real quick, just off the top of your head.
Yeah. Good question. 8.5.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm. The writing, the pacing, characters, obviously, even the characters they introduced was great. Yeah, I mean, it was a perfect length, all of it. 8.5. The only thing that wasn't that great was probably the music and the animation. But it actually was shocking that it didn't look that good because it's Madhouse, but yeah, they was probably working on Freeman at the same time.
True. And also, I mean, if we're comparing it, are we comparing it to movie animation or just animation in general?
Right,
you know what I mean?
Even, but as a movie, it just looked like a long episode of Overlord animation wise.
Okay, so I mean, it didn't look bad. It just was okay.
Right, it was just okay. Anyway, now time for the topic of the show, which is the review. So the two movies we are reviewing today, and we are going to go into, we don't really do spoilers for it. We're just kind of discussing generalities, but the movies that
there will be slight spoilers.
There has to be slight spoilers. Yes, absolutely. But matter of fact, there will be spoilers for these two movies. So if you haven't seen these two movies, make sure you go watch it. But the two movies, it's a series of movies. And one is called To Me, The One Who Loved You. And the other is called To Every You I Loved Before. They're about an hour and 46 minutes. You can watch them either order in whichever order you would like. It doesn't really matter. Tells the same story essentially, but the way it's told is spectacular, but I'll get into that. Starting with general feelings of the movie, Tell, how do you feel about, for one, the movie you started off with first, which was To Every You I Loved Before?
I think that, and I know there's no right way to watch it, but I feel like after watching it, I watched it the right way. Like, I feel like there's no way you got the same watching experience that I got.
This is awesome. This is fucking awesome.
I feel like 100% I watched it the right way. And I know that sounds crazy. But it was good. There was a lot to like about it. And I thought it was very unique in the way that it did things. And you did say that it's the same movie both ways, but I have to disagree. I feel like if you watch it both ways, you do definitely get a different feeling. While there's certain things that I wish that they had delved more into, just as like a slice of life experience that I kind of wish that I got. But for like the sci-fi evolution that we got throughout the movie, man, brother, I really enjoyed it. And the theoretical imaginary science that we got here was really cool as well. And how they made it this multifaceted supernatural experience. I think it was a really good experience. My wife watched both with me, and at the end, so she was a little bit more, she liked it. I'm pretty sure she liked it more than I did. Which is crazy because I did enjoy it, but I'm pretty sure she liked it more than I did, which I think is saying a whole lot. But I do think that it was a treat to watch. Personally, it was a very unique experience in my opinion.
I agree that it was an absolute treat to watch. I started off with To Me, The One Who Loved You, and I will say I feel like I've watched it in the correct order. That's what makes it so fucking spectacular. The same thing you just said is so funny, and why I laughed is because I feel the same way about watching my movie first. With me watching To Me, The One Who Loved You Before, the reason why I say I feel like, and I think, and this is, now you're going to probably agree with me when I mention this, but I think To Me Who Loved You Before was supposed to be the first movie because it had like a slight after credit scene. That slight after credit scene led to the Every You I Loved Before, and then the Everyone I Loved Before just didn't have that. It just ended. It went black screen, full credits.
And I agree, but that's the part that made me disagree. Because I was like, yo, after watching the first one, I was like, I know I have something else to watch, right? But after watching the second one and I saw that ending, it was like, that was the perfect capstone, in the opinion to me. It was like, man, I just watched this first movie, it cut, and I go here and it gave me all of this, and then it says spin at the end. I'm like, brother, I'm like, that was good. That was good. I did enjoy that. But yeah, man, I agree with you because I did think about it. I was like, I can see why somebody would say either way is the right way. Because it definitely felt like that for me. But I was like, man, I like the way I watched it better.
Yeah. So, and I feel the same way. I love the way I watched it better because, I did the same thing till then. I watched it with my wife as well. And I do feel the same way. I feel like she liked it more. She cried more during the first one that we watched. Man. To Me, The One Who Loved You. She cried more during that one than she did the second one. So I got to ask you this question, Tel. Who did you like better, Kazune or Shiori? Which one did you fall in love with more?
Kazune.
That's so incredible, Tell, because
of how we watched it though.
Yes, right? Because I love Shiori. Like we was watching it, and I'm like, yo, Shiori is incredible. Like she's the best one.
But
like
I don't hate her.
Yeah, no, I don't hate neither one of them.
I'm like, no, I want Kazune. I want more Kazune right now.
I felt so defensive about Shiori. I'm like, I fucking love Shiori more. I love Shiori more, and I knew it was because I watched that one first. This is such an incredible experience because I told my wife, I'm like, listen, I wonder if he's gonna love Kazune more because he watched that one first. I said that exact same thing to her. It's awesome. These two movies together are incredible. Now, I just learned, shout out to Crystal, but they're done by two different studios. You could tell because there's two different art styles. I do like my art style better. Now tell.
I can agree with that.
Okay, so you like my art style better as well. I thought you were gonna think yours was better because you watched it first.
Because in my opinion, and this will reflect in my rating of the animation for both shows. I thought that the animation was better. In yours specifically, I thought that it fit everything better. And it's not to say that there weren't moments in the one that I watched first.
Yeah.
Or preemptively. It's not to say the animation didn't have its high points, but it certainly didn't have the I would say the stability. There was moments that were the right amount of soft, if that makes sense. Like and I hate to say this, to me the most impressively animated part was the crushing the can.
Yeah.
And I was like, why was that part beautiful? And that, like I said, that it hit, like I said, it was the softness. It was the softness of the background, but the sharpness and cleanness of how the can looked and then the blood rushing down. That was like the best part for me, which, like I said, in terms of animation, like that wasn't like a highlight point, even when we got into like the time shifting and like the fair at the zoo fair part. Like you would have thought that would have been a highly animated, really high quality part, but it just wasn't.
There was no high quality animation in this besides the can, and like a couple of bike rides look cool, but it was not at all a spectacularly visually impressive movie set at all. Neither one of them was. They were done by two different studios. So to me, The One Who Loved You was done by TMS Entertainment, and then To Ever You I Loved Before was done by Bakken Record. Bakken Record has a very small list of stuff. They have what is this? Exception on Netflix. They have Impon Again in Turkey, which is a bowling anime. And then TMS has quite a bit more. They have Bluebox. They got something underneath they built. They got Dr. Stone.
You can tell it. You can tell from the way it looks. They have it.
Experience, It's definitely a more experienced studio with that one.
What I will also say though, and let me just say this in defense of To Me, The One Who Loved You, right? I will say that for that to be the actual shorter movie, that was the movie. It was shorter by like 7 or 8 minutes,
give or take. But it was negligible.
It was probably like 4 minutes. It was probably like 4 minutes.
Very negligible amount. Yeah.
It felt like it got to the point better.
Which one?
Like it
Yours?
got to the point
when you watched first.
To Me, The One Who Loved You. It felt like it got to the point of the story in a swifter manner. Like I'm thinking about when I was watching the first one, and I'm like, man, I can almost see like parallels to like how he is rocking with these two characters in different timelines, but they're almost parallel to how it's going. And then they started to really get to the point in To Me, The One Who Loved You, and I just thought that the pacing in that one was better.
It was literally parallel. like it was actually parallel based off the two choices. The symbolic nature of what these movies are was fucking spectacular. It was spectacular. Like the reason I can't stop gloating about this story. The storytelling within this was so brilliant, and it had what I would suggest probably the second best time travel or time dilution theoretical parallel universe, alternate universe type shit. It had the best theoretical scientifical explanation to it in any anime besides Steins Gate. Steins Gate does time travel better, but this does like it top tier. And this is mostly multiversal type shit essentially, or parallel world shit. And it was just scientifically brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Like it was, if you had to think of what parallel worlds were, I would agree with all of it.
Yeah, I think the theory of this, it felt super realistic in terms of the parallel shifting. The time shifting, I don't think
that was a little rough.
Yeah, I don't think it was explained well enough.
I agree.
But I do think that the overall story around it was so well done that it almost takes away from how that part of it was told. But man, I agree like that. And I mean, I guess I kind of don't agree, because I don't think that the time shifting idea was close to Steins Gate. Like no, it might be, and I was, but it's not even close though.
I was only referring to the parallel world and time shifting piece. Like the whole scientifical nature of it was second. Like I don't know anything close to Steins Gate, obviously, but I don't even know anything close to this even.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's like it was, and I'm
only gonna say this. Mm-hmm. I think that the theoretical explanation of it about being the bubble and then the bubbles coming off of the main bubble expanding, I thought that was the best breakdown, but I ain't gonna lie to you, I was looking at the math on the board and I'm like, they just writing shit down, bro.
Yeah, duh. But it was all about, it was that moment in To Me when he was talking to his assistant Kazune version, and they were talking about the bubbles rising and pushing the bubbles down and going back in time that way. It was strange. The viscosity. That part didn't quite wrap up as nicely as the parallel shifting itself, but I digress. It was great. It was a great set of movies. Now, I want to get to Crystal, because Crystal is, I think, the only one that participated in this review with us, because it was her review. And she states that she watched, I asked her quickly while we were talking, I asked her which one did she watch first and which main girl did she like. She said she watched To Me, The One Who Loved You Before first, and then To Ever You I Love. So she watched it in the order I did, and she said the best girl was Shiori. So I do think determining on which way you watch this movie will determine on who your best girl was. So that's 100%. So that's very, very interesting. A very interesting thing to look at when it comes to watching these movies. Okay, so the
thing is though is that coolly enough, it all no, that's a spoiler. I ain't gonna get that.
Yeah, no. What you were about to say is absolutely right, and I already know what you was about to say.
It all wraps back.
It all wraps back. Anyway, starting with our review. Oh, I forgot. I don't have the definitions of our review up. God.
I got it.
Oh, so you want to read them off for me? What are the definitions of our review? I know you don't want to talk too much, but if you
animation, art style, visuals, direction, scenery, overall viewing experience.
Stop real quick. Let me explain. Okay. Let me explain. Kevin Hart. There are 5 categories that we rate using the 20-point scale. Okay. Animation, which Tel's going to continue reading the definition of. Sound design, pacing, plot, and characters. Pacing being obviously how he's going to read all that. Anyway, so Tel, do me the honors.
Sound design, soundtrack, composition, sound effects, and how well it tied to the visuals. Pacing, episode to episode strength and continuity. How well the story developed and unfolded the series went on. As the series went on. Plot, the overall story and how well it was written. How well the story resonated with us, the viewer. Characters, relatability, overall development, and growth of the characters. Memorable.
Yes. So, starting off with animation, Tel, what was your score on the animation?
Not to say, because it wasn't bad. It definitely had, you know how movie animation has that, like, everything moves. The characters in the background moves. There's always a focal point on the main character, but there's that soft overtone or undertone of what's in the background. I always love that. That's why I love watching these movies. I love when we do movie reviews. because it always shows how that extra step in budget makes them so much more dynamic. But it wasn't like amazing animation. This was very okay, and I would say average. So I'm giving the score a 7 out of 10.
That's so funny because in my head, as you're talking, I'm thinking the same thing. It was extremely average. It kind of just looked like an anime, a slice of life anime episodic thing. Like it didn't have any of that movie shabazz that movies have, like a silent voice have, or I want to eat your pancreas, that emotional movement, like that movement that looked almost mocap or uncanny. It didn't have none of that, like none of that whatsoever. There was maybe a moment where a wheelchair went down some stairs that looked decent, but it was like none of this stuff was anything to write home about. Exceedingly really average, so I also gave it a 7 as well.
I'm thinking about like Your Name and stuff like that. I'm like, man, beautiful, amazing animation for what they were. Even
that movie, what was that Bubble movie that we watched, reviewed a while ago? It was just, that was also gorgeous, even though it wasn't that great of a movie. All right, sound design. I'll start with the sound design. You know, the soundtrack was as emotional as the scenes. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Everything I felt was appropriately timed and placed in the place where it made sense. And the different soundtracks for the two movies were so, it was so captivating that I almost was like in awe of it, but not necessarily blown back by it, but I was in awe at how well it matched the significance of the scene that it showed, or any moments that kind of spurred up. Sound design for me was an 8. I do think it was like it was slightly above average, but it also wasn't mind blowing. You know what I mean? So I think 8 was a perfect score for what the sound design was for this movie.
I agree. Like it definitely hit on the moments that I thought were important and impactful. I will say the detractor was that almost like when we left the scene, that music didn't linger in my head, so to speak.
Understandable.
So I'm right where you are, just a little bit lower. I'm a 7.5 out of 10.
Interesting. Okay. Pacing. This is a tough. This is you, but it's a tough one. I would say.
I mean, I don't think it's tough at all. I ain't gonna lie to you. To me, the pacing was one of my favorite things about it, and it was because of how unique the show or the movies were. I'm thinking about both movies and how I watched them, and I watched them back to back, bro. And I say that because I did enjoy the first one so much that I was like, I'm gonna take an hour break. And that's what I mean by back to back. I watched them the same day. I took an hour break, ate something, came back and watched the next one. The pacing was a 10, and I don't care. I don't care what you got to say about it. Okay. The pacing for this, and I say it's a 10 because of how unique the show was. The movie was, yes. The movie, I didn't feel like I was watching an hour and 40 minute long movie, bro. I felt like I was watching something, and the way that it flowed and moved, and then it did jump back and forth a lot, but I felt like that played into the what the show was supposed to be, or what the movie was supposed to be about. And I watched the second one, and I feel like the pacing and the movement was very identical, and we had slight or separations from that, like we were in a parallel shift. And I really enjoyed it. So I thought the pacing was a 10.
I find it amazing how two different studios both captured this particular pacing as well as they did. That had to be such a hard ass thing to do, because you had to make sure you didn't miss anything. You had to make sure that like no part of the story was left untold when it came to these particular moments. And what I also loved is that they didn't just take the part of the other movie and like slap it into the other movie. You know what I'm saying? Because they showed moments where parallel shifts happened, and then it was kind of like it was classroom moment. And for me, when I watch, to me, I'm watching it, and these classroom moments after that parallel shift, and it was like, what the fuck? It was just kind of like a montage. It was going. I'm like, oh, this shit is dope. This is dope, because I know exactly that I got this other movie to look forward to. Now, I watched it a day apart, and I think that is why I'm not as high on the pacing as you are, because I had time to sit. And with time to sit, I don't think it was a perfect 10, but I do think it was a 9. And the reason why I feel like that it was a 9 is because there was moments within, so the first moment something happens, the first moment something happens, and then it just kind of shifts to the parallel shifts almost relatively sudden. And the same goes with the other movie. Other movie kind of took a bit to get going compared to me. To every, it was slower. It was a slower paced situation because of the way it had to progress. And I will say, the way they explain the narration of what's happening before each one, if you watch these movies individually, you will still understand what was going on. And that's why it's still as high as it is. That's a 9. But for me, having that time to sit and think on it, I do feel like that the pacing and the one I watched first was a little bit better than the one that came second. And maybe it wouldn't be that way if I watched the other one first, but that's just how I feel for this particular moment. That's why it wasn't absolutely perfect. Now, plot, man. What an absolutely incredible plot. This plot gave me everything I think about personally when I think about parallel worlds. So it's based off of the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis on the quote-unquote world line you were essentially on. So, for example, and we talked about this on our after story, so go back to one of our after story episodes. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. But let's say today when I wake up, instead of waking up and going out to the store, I stayed in the house and gamed on the computer. Okay, that means there was a moment in time that I decided to go to the store, and that me that decided to go to the store continued on going to the store and doing something else and doing something else and doing something else, compared to the me that just stayed in the house sitting on the computer. So it starts off with that, with that decision. And then it depends on how far away you get from that original self that decided to sit in the house and stay on the computer. Based off of how far away from that particular decision that you made determines on how far away you stray from World Line 0, basically. Or we'll call World Line 0 being me sitting at the computer, and then World Line 1 going to the store, but then me going to another store is World Line 3, and then me going to another instead of coming back home. Like, it branches off that way. And it was such a fucking creative way of doing it and telling it. And then within this story, between the two different plots that starts, it's based off of one decision. One decision. This entire movie is based off of one decision that then branches off into these crazy trees that turns into something so wild and captivating and intriguing and fun and sad and happy and sad. It was spectacular. I gave it a
10. So, everything Polow said was true. And this is the reason why I think that I watched it in the right order. And the reason why is because of kind of what he says to Sayori at the end of the one that Polow watched first. Because in the one I watched, we get that explanation about the parallel shift so heavily in the beginning, and it felt like that one was the explanation movie. It was the one that was explanatory. Then we get into where at the end we just find out about time shift. We just find out about time shift at the end of to Every You I've Loved Before, and he talks about how I appreciate all these different parallel worlds that allowed me to love you, Kazune, because I got to experience that. And then we know, just like what Polow said, the further you get away from it, and they explain this several times in the movie, the further you get away from 0, eventually number 85, number 90 might be an entirely different person. You might never know that person. And they gave us that concept so very early on, to the point to where that becomes almost like a necessity on top of the time shift that they introduce. And then we switch to that movie. I was like, oh my God. The plot was easily my favorite aspect of this movie. It's a 10.
So let me just say this. The reason, and this is going to go back to us bouncing back and forth with each other in this particular topic, but the reason why I feel like, to me, what's supposed to be watched first was because it didn't give you all of that first. It gave you the life of a child, being the child, being at his job's work, where his dad's work just happened to be researching parallel shifting and et cetera. So for them to get into the situation and they accidentally get into what the accident that happens and it goes that way, that's why I feel like it was a better way to start. But again, it depends on which one you start with. That feels so unique, and that's why it's so special. It's a special movie. I
wish you were spoiling this, bro. I ain't gonna lie, because I have so many thoughts.
It's so many thoughts. Tell to go to characters. It's on you.
The characters are the driving force of this show outside of the story. I think that between Sayori and Kazune, while I loved Kazune with all of my heart, there was nothing in me that could hate Sayori. I fell in love with her story. I fell in love with her plea. I fell in love with the aspect of it. And then when we got to the end, I fell in love with the idea that he offered and said what he said and did what he did, and went to the lengths that he went to in a whole nother parallel world. To me, these characters are endearing. The parents and their separation was endearing, and I'm gonna say this: the characters in to me, the one that loved you, were the better characters. Like, and it's the portrayal of those characters, I guess, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But what's better than amazing? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But the characters were a great vehicle for this show, and I also gave that a 10.
All right, my turn. So there are, how can I explain this the way I want to explain it? You know how anime always have characters that you're not supposed to like, characters you're supposed to hate intentionally, characters that aren't that feel like they need to be hated in order to drive a story forward. This, and I said this to my wife, I'm like, this has every character you absolutely love. There's no reason to hate anybody, and it still pushes the story forward. It still pushes the story strong and hard, and it's incredible. Like, everybody's nice to each other, everybody's pleasant, and it's still great character development, great characters in general. I also gave it a 10. It was my, and you said how you said the plot was your favorite part. The characters was my favorite part because I grew attached to everyone. The mom, the grandpa, to every you. And then to me, Sayori, the mom, the dad, and then the reason why everything happened was right. Relevant, and it was like, yo, you don't need to do that, blah, 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 blah. Even though in our society.
I fell in love with the parallel shifting mom, the one who came to do her thing.
All of it, bro. All of it. I fell in love with all of them. And it was just special. It was a special treat to me. I think this movie's go down, and it's funny because I still love A Silent Voice better. I still love I Want to Eat Your Pancreas better. But even though I like them better, these movies are going to go down as probably some of my favorite movies ever.
Easy.
Because of the way it is, its uniqueness.
Yeah, and I kind of I can't wait until I kind of forget about these movies a bit, and I'll rewatch them. And I'm gonna watch them in the opposite order. Because while I think I won't ever actually forget about them, I do think that I would happily. I wish I could though, bro.
I know, me too.
I want to see it in your order. Because I want to be able to say, oh man, okay, I can see Polow perspective better. Because I can see your perspective. I ain't saying you wrong. I'm just saying, man,
we on two different parallel lines. That's the decision we made to watch them in reverse order was the decision that makes us feel. I feel like mine was supposed to be first. I like Sayori better, or you feel like yours is supposed to be first, and you like Kazune better. That is why I think it's just so good. It's just so good. All right, let me go back to Crystal real quick before we get into the wrap up of this. She says, I don't know what I thought getting into this when I first was interested in these movies, but I was pleased. Overall, I think the unique way to tell a story and literally just putting it in the hands of the viewer to decide how they want the story to be told. And she says she gave it an 8.1. Ended up being 8.1 ended up being her overall score. I keep going back and forth with with one of the animation scores because they're slightly different due to it being done by different studios. Yeah, I think the art style or the art style, not particularly the animation, the art style difference was intentional. That's why I think they went to two different studios, because they're two different parallel lines, right? So I think that was intentional. That's why
the hair colors, all that stuff.
Yep, and that's why that piece of part of the animation didn't get a score deduction for me. But either way, they still were just both average, and that's why we both feel they were average.
Did you see that in mine, he had the blue Nikes with the checks that they didn't say Nike, but yours, they had the red Nikes. And did you notice? Like, y'all funny.
And did you notice when they were in the mirror reflecting, when they was having a conversation, the art style of the original, like your movie, was the real one, and then in the mirror, it was the art style of the other movie, which is fucking crazy. I'm like, oh,
they did some phenomenal things, which, like, we can attribute that to animation, but it's still like,
it's art style for me personally.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's still like it wasn't so animated so well. It just had some clever things done.
Yes. All right, Tell. All right. Let's go down I'm gonna go down the list here. Animation, we both gave it a 7. Sound design, I gave it an 8. Tell gave it a 7.5. Pacing, I gave it a 9. Tell gave it a 10. Plot, Tell gave it a 10. I gave it a 10. Characters, we both gave it a 10. What do you think the overall score was?
8.3. No, it's gonna be higher than that. Sheesh, it's gonna be like what? 8.7. 8.7.
So Tell, your overall score was 8.9. My overall score was an 8.8. Brings the Mic Check Waifu overall score for the To Me and To Every series an 8.85. You got the full list pulled up?
Yep.
Where does 8.85 fall on our Hall of Fame of shows we reviewed? What number?
I'm gonna put it at number 15.
Is that number 15?
Yeah.
Okay, so
put it at number 15 because number 15 is Beastars.
Okay. So go from 15 up.
All right. Number 15 right now is 8.85 at Beastars. I'm gonna slot in obviously these two movies. Then it's Demon Slayer, which I believe that's season 1.
If it just says Demon Slayer, then yeah.
8.8. Bottom tier, season 2, 8.95. Windbreaker, a 9.2. Arcane, a 9.2. Vinland Saga, 9.25. Grimgar, 9.3. Fire Force, 9.35. My Romantic Comedy Series, 9.45. 6, Too Many Losing Heroines, 9.5. 5, A Place Further Than Universe, 9.7. 4, JJK Season 1, 9.8. 3, Clannad, 9.8. 2, Astral Lost in Space, 10. 1, Summertime Rendering, 10.
Interesting. Okay. 8.85 I feel is appropriate. That's what makes our review scale so dope. I do think it was like an 8.85 when I look at it subjectively and objectively. Like I don't, now these are two movies, so it's call it however you will, but all right, let's get to the last thing today, which is the segment sponsored by Fear, the Patreon producer. Fear the Highs and Lows is the segment that we are going to discuss. Now, let me go, where is it at? I gotta find the channel. Toxic Weed Ideas. Here it is. Yeah, Fear the Highs and Lows. There it is. Okay, so this is a idea brought to us by our Patreon producer, Fear. He says, it will be interesting in the review to know which episode will be graded the highest or your favorite that you feel covered all the categories well. Then maybe the one that didn't grade as well, that seems kind of negative, like, and you could obviously be objective, he suggests. So, Tell, what would you think, which movie, I guess you would say, will be graded the highest within the series? Of the two movies.
See, that kind of sucks. And I say this
because you got to think about all the categories.
So
it's hard because it's two movies, right? It's not like you can't think of an episode, right?
There's things that you could have taken out of To Ever You I've Loved Before, and the movie would have been just fine. But I feel like in To Me, The One Who Loved You, there was nothing that was unnecessary. There was no fluff at all.
Yeah.
Which, and I'm only saying that because, like I said, the parallel shifting mom who did that thing, which I think that was really just to kind of show the idea of that they would do it.
Yep.
But I feel like you could still get rid of that.
Mm-hmm. And it still have the same impact.
It would still have the same impact in the movie. So I would say that I think that the To Me, The One Who Loved You would get the better rating. And I say that because I feel like, and I like I said, it brought up the end, and I feel like it just put the perfect knot on everything. I felt like it was certainly the better of the two. It was the better of the two. It sealed the deal. It shut the story down and said, boom, we done. This is the end of it. It gave the final explanation and it closed the deal.
Yeah, I agree with that, because and the funny thing is when I asked this question, that's exactly was my thought process, because that slight piece of unnecessity that was in it, and it was because like they didn't need that part, but it was to prove at how important it is for the distance of the parallel world to be travel, right? Because that piece of that was very important to what the main character was and what he believes for the end. While it was necessary to prove that, it didn't need to prove that. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Because we would have believed it if it was never in there in the first place.
Because they kind of had us still on our toes with the beginning of To Everyone You Loved Before, because of how they introduced Kazune.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We were still kind of on our toes with that explanation. They explained it perfectly there.
It was absolutely, you're right, absolutely perfect the way they explained that. So yeah, I would agree. To me, is the higher rating, but I mean negligible, right? Like it's not like it'll be that. It's
not like that was a bad scene, you know what I mean? It was a scene that to me was impactful. I was very impacted by it. I was like, man, I love that scene, but it was like, was it necessary?
And for me coming from To Me, I don't think it really felt unnecessary. And even my wife said, we didn't need to have that. And so if she says that, then I'm like, okay, then it's just universal, because I know I'm a little bit more critical when it comes to anime. But for my wife to also have that same thought was very ironic.
No, I'm thinking about if I had watched your movie first, that I would have seen that scene and be like, there was no point in that. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking, like I said, because I watched the one I did first, it didn't seem out of place until I watched the other movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Yeah, that was great. All right. Let's take this quick break. And when we come back, we're going to spoil ReZero, since it was the finale. And we're going to spoil, what did we say?
We are going to spoil Bleach and Aristocrat.
Okay. Do we need to spoil Bleach though? We can probably forego.
Not really. I was all action.
Yeah, we can forego Bleach this week. But Aristocrat, let's do that for the gut check. We'll be right back after these.
Ocean, traveling in slow motion, paddling with no question, early morning with the sun, not yet burning, innocent. I try to be a good son,
myself 100%. Oh, I feel it inside. I wanna reach that. It's somewhere inside. I wish I reached that. Skyline, skyline. I wanna reach that skyline. Skyline. I wish I reached that skyline. Skyline. I'm gonna reach that skyline. Skyline. Endless troubles to go through. They are strewn in the city. Daily struggle to be true. Betray authenticity. Poison all around, but still I will take another round or another route until we take off from the ground. I feel it inside. I wanna reach that. It's somewhere inside. I wish I reached that. Reach that skyline. Skyline. I wanna reach that skyline. Skyline. I wish I reached that skyline. Skyline. I wanna reach that skyline.
Skyline, inside, see a skyline. 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 Inside.
And welcome back to episode 278 of Mic Check Waifu Waifu. That was a fun review.
It was phenomenal, brother.
I absolutely love doing that. That one was great. Thank you, Crystal, for that. So maybe
I think that's gonna be a memorable review.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe we could do Charlotte this season too. You know, it may be just maybe. Anyway, we're going to do spoil
or what's that called? Madoka Magica. Oh my! Did you watch the 3 episodes?
I forgot.
Okay,
I'll do that this week though. I'll watch those 3 episodes this week. Watch those 3 episodes this week. All right. We're going to spoil the season finale of ReZero season 3, which was episode 8. Oh, I'm sad. We got to wait 70 something days, but here we are.
Can I just say, outside of my sadness, because I'm gonna cry, but I don't want to talk about that. The dialogue in ReZero is literally just some of the best dialogue.
It's like the pen just be on fire, bro. It'd be on fire how good the writing is within this show. It's unbeatable. Yeah. Like and then not only just the writing, right? But every piece of character development within that is unbelievable.
But that's also what I mean by the writing, bro. The writing is crazy.
Yeah.
Everything about like how they layer these characters, how they layer the scenarios, how they layer the curse that Subaru has, how they layer everything, bro. I feel like everything is so thought out. How long has ReZero been out? Has ReZero been out longer than we've been alive? Because I feel like there's no way they've been working on this story that like in any amount of time, and it's just this good, like this long.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. I can't. Let me just see something here. ReZero, the light novel, which started off as a web novel, started in 2014.
No way, Sway. Ain't no way.
That's insane.
Yo, God pen. They got a broken ability themselves. They must have been reincarnated into this world.
And then 2 years later, they started the series with season 1.
Man.
Unbelievable. It was, this was mainly about, what was this mainly about?
It was
the plan, right? The plan of
the final board meeting plan
of how they're going to attack the witch cultists. And when I tell you that I was at the edge of my seat, just wondering who's going to get sent where and why they were going to send there, unbelievable. What I love, and this is crazy to even say, because she was made to not be liked, but Priscilla, for her to be she's stepping up. Listen, I got wrath, and the reason why I got wrath is you can see her ingenuity. Her ingenuity is so high because she just understands the situation that's going on, and she's thinking objectively and just logically and just confidently, and I didn't like her literally 5 episodes ago or whatever it was when she was, like 7 episodes ago, to be fair. But that was the last time I didn't like her. But now I like her. And I never thought I would because of the way she treated Subaru, especially during the White Whale fight. But
we've said this since season 1, more since season 2. This show intentionally makes it so that it's almost hard to dislike characters sometimes, right? Because now
it was easy. I hated her.
I'm saying with the information that we have now, and I'm saying that with the information we have now, right?
Yeah, true.
Priscilla isn't inherently a bad character. Mm-hmm. She's just more concerned with her role and how she's going to get it, right? Which, in terms of motivation, I rock with. But
she's narcissistic, though.
Yeah, for sure. We're not disagreeing with that. We're not disagreeing with that. She literally said it in the second or third episode. Everything is mine. So if it just happens to roll free, it don't mean it ain't mine. Whatever, girl, shut up.
Right.
But when I say that, I mean, like, for instance, with the information we had confirmed in this episode, you think about like characters like Betelgeuse that we did not like. But then we know that there is a certain reincarnation situation that happens, or is it a corpse soldier situation that happens where they are essentially reviving corpses and making them fight for them.
Yeah.
So I think that Polow's theory is correct with Amelia's mom.
Yeah. But being Wrath, though, being one of the 7 deadly sins, though, that's Priscilla. That's Pandora. That's not necessarily, because Lust is bringing back Wilhelm's wife in the A-arm. Shout out to Bluebox who joined the Discord recently, who had that theory before I even thought about that theory at all. Like, I never thought about that. The specific, her being that swordswoman being his wife. That blew my mind, because she was keeping up with Wilhelm, and he's supposed to be like the demon of whatever. So that's interesting, especially compared to what Betelgeuse's cultists were like. They weren't nearly as, I guess, powerful as that, but I digress.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well said. Like it I don't know, man. The way it just established itself is, and nothing gets unanswered, right? Like no stone gets left unturned. The Otto situation, to where they taking where he took the roasted gospel that Roswell had to determine the Book of Wisdom. But to take it to a magic restore, to get it restored, I mean, nothing gets left untold. It's crazy. And we know that that's important to those cultists. So once that gets restored, I don't even know what I can't even fathom what's going to happen next and how they're going to act, because of even just the way Portuguese added with an experimental version of that book. So it's only a matter of time before the cultists just turn into fucking lunatics, more so than now. And
speaking of liking characters, I like Otto more and more.
Me too. He keeps growing on me.
Garfield, knowing where he has to go, right? Knowing who he has to fight. He's like, Subaru, I know this means something to you. And hear me out. What? It's been 2 years. What was Garfield? 13 last time in ReZero season 2. He's 15 now.
He's 14 now because it's only been a
14.
year.
Okay. Garfield is a better character than he was before.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the mommy episode.
Yeah, but but he is a better character. But it's also like the way he immediately takes to Subaru and kind of like his loyalty. It's his loyalty, because everything he was doing before was about a sense of loyalty, so to speak, but also his childishness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now he is so loyal. I just love him, bro. Garfield is that dude. Even knowing that what Subaru wants to do with his like wanting to fight Gluttony and wanting to be able to be the one to restore Rem, Subaru's like, I have to take my steps and do what I need to do.
He's fighting Gluttony? I thought he was fighting Lust.
I thought Garfield was going to fight Gluttony. Am I wrong? I could be wrong.
I think so, because he's fighting Lust or the reanimated people with Wilhelm.
Mm-hmm.
So those two are fighting together, which is Lust.
I know when he said something about Gluttony, though, that he said, I know you wanted to fight Gluttony, is what I'm saying.
I'll have to revisit that.
He wanted to restore Rem. He knew how important it was to fight Gluttony.
Interesting. Okay. You may be right. I can't remember, but crazy to think about. Like I said, I love where Priscilla's going. What she did made sense. No, you know what? You're right. Well, no, technically you're not right, but you are right, because I think those two are fighting Wilhelm and Garfield, because Garfield trying to get it back in blood for what happened to Mimi. That's what the conversation was about.
Yeah. But that's not what I'm saying is that when he designated who was going to fight Gluttony, Garfield was like, I know you wanted to fight Gluttony, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I think he was just stating that he wants to fight him. But no,
right.
But Subaru was like, no, I'm going to save my princess. So
of course,
with Reinhardt, which is the end of this episode,
brother. They are great characters.
The great characters together. The dynamic, what's the word I'm looking for? Chemistry between these two are fucking phenomenal. Reinhardt kicks the door. For one, the fact that he kicked the door and it hit Greed is already like, oh shit.
It's the divine protection, brother.
Yeah, it's and the fact that this motherfucker could just wish for whatever divine protection he wants, essentially, is fucking crazy. But anyway,
how they explained the divine protection, how that happened was beautiful. This show is amazing.
It's so broken. Reinhardt is just broken. But anyway, that's going to be so much fun. I can't see Julius and Julius is fighting Gluttony. Sorry, Julius is fighting Gluttony with Lust fighting the Wolfman with Owl. Is that how that go? I can't remember.
We should have wrote that down.
I know we definitely should have took that note, but
it's gonna be 72 days. I'm gonna have to rewatch it anyway.
I know. Hey, Rob Stone, if you remember who's fighting who, can you leave it in the comments of the YouTube video? Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. But all I know is that this fucking episode was spectacular. I'm sad I gotta wait 72 days for it to come back, but I will gladly wait 72 days. But dude, by 72 days, you know what's gonna be out by 72 days?
What's that?
Apothecary Diaries season 2.
Brother.
I even think Free Rent come out in the wintertime, don't it?
Oh man.
Wait, hold on.
We do have to do a season review pretty soon.
Yeah. Apothecary Diary season 2. No, Solo Leveling. It was Solo Leveling. Yeah. So winter is stacked. Let me get out of here before I preview episode. Before I find my sleeper on accident.
We cheating.
I'm not trying to. Anyway, moving on.
After Yakuza Fiance, you don't be trying to cheat.
So man, I'm dropping that shit. I think for the first time, and for the one exception, I'm dropping Yakuza Fiance because I can't watch crap. All right, moving on to as a reincarnated aristocrat, I'll use my appraisal skills to rise in the world. And I said this during when me and Tel and Legal and their homies was just chilling in Discord. This show makes me cry every fucking episode.
It's a tearjerker for sure, bro.
Cried. I was like, and this is...
Was it the end?
Yeah, it was both. It was all of it. And it was all of it because the end, when he's writing the letters to the soldiers that passed, and how he's so personable with everybody, and everybody knows him, and he knows everybody, and he knows everybody's personality. That's already sad enough because they died protecting him. That fucking killed me. That's when I really started crying. But when I thought the other general was dying, not getting a chance to meet his wife and hold his son, which that even though it was weirdly paced and just weirdly pushed together, I don't understand how he falls asleep, grabs his wife's hand, and then his wife has the baby, and then he wakes up and he's perfectly fine. That was strange. Looking past that, the emotional impact still of that scene, that situation, was so sad. Because I feel like, okay, at the end of last week's episode, it showed him walking up to a grave. It showed Ars walking up to a grave. And I thought it was going to be his because he got shot with the arrow. And they kind of shot it on it. And it was kind of going to be predictable. So I'm like, damn, even though I know he's dying, I'm still sad about it. I'm still got a thug tear running down my face. But then when he goes to the dream and he gets up and he hugs his wife and they're holding his son or daughter or whatever it was, that's when I cried for real again. I'm like, this fucking shit's great.
You know what really got me though at the end? It was the end. But what got me about the end was thinking about when his dad took him to go do like the first war. You know what I mean? This is your first time on the battlefield.
Yep.
Ars couldn't handle it. He threw up. He had to go back home, and he forced himself to train. And he forced himself. And what I love about this show is that this shows that it didn't like. It paid off. It did pay off is what it did.
Yeah. And
it shows Ars' growth. Not only did he literally level up his skill, he became the Lord that he said he wanted to be. And he saw how hard it is to be on that battlefield. He saw how hard it is to know every single person out there who's going to go fight with their lives on the line. You lose them. And then he is still kind enough to send letters back home.
Yeah.
Ars is a GOAT, man. I love this character. And
every time he gives a speech, you could just feel his leadership exuding from him unintentionally.
That got to be crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I wish he would use the fucking eye in the mirror and look at himself, but he refuses to. But I think what he would see is that his leadership is like 125 at least. Oh, so good. It's so good the way they explain how when certain people have above a certain prowess, and even the villains, right? The villain having a sense of humanity, and like, I don't know, like, I don't know what can make this show bad. I mean, there's like, to be honest, the animation's poor in it, and there's some kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Plot armory situations, if that makes sense. Like I just talked about with that general popping up when he grabbed his wife's hand, and the wife just happens to have the baby during all this shit happening within like a few minutes. It's reasonable to assume that it wasn't a few minutes, but I digress. It still is like one of my favorite shows ever.
It is one of those shows that's just we gonna be here every season for this. Yeah. And I mean, it's obviously doing so well, but I'm captivated. I'm definitely captivated. All right, gut check.
Where do we go from here?
They still have to lead, come back together.
Yeah, but like, how does this war end, or how does this season end? I can't predict it.
I hate to say it, but I almost feel like he has to take a loss. I'm not sure what kind of loss it is, but it has to be some kind of loss. Like,
I hate that, but I can't say I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it. You know, I can't disagree. Bruh, I don't want him to take a loss, but
what are you thinking?
I'm gonna just go one episode at a time. I'm thinking fam is gonna join the fam. Then I'm thinking the major players are going to join the battlefield. So the leader of ours is retinue, and then the leader of the opposite team's retinue is going to finally take the battlefield versus each other. And then when they do, this is when I think he's going to really have to put together some kind of a game-changing plan where he takes literally credit for saving everybody's life, not just his retinue or his leadership's side, but the enemy's leadership side, because I think it's some people behind the scenes that's fucking around with some shit that we don't necessarily know that caused this, that kind of caused the civil war. And I don't think it's the brother. I think it's something else. And that something else could be the Empire, you know? Yeah. So that's where I'm kind of leaning. And that's how I think it's gonna end on a cliffhanger with the Empire being the true villains behind this. And
that's how Polow takes it one episode at a time.
Yeah, well, when I say
he not put you to the next 3 seasons like that.
No, when I say one episode at a time, I mean like literally to the end of how it was gonna go. So
yeah, no. So I can agree with that. I can see this season ending kind of almost like still in a war state.
Yeah, but in a war state that where we find out like it's a major.
Yeah, it's a larger scenario.
Yeah. So interesting stuff. Tell.
What's up?
I'm at Polow Born Fly on all social media.
I'm at King Telliano on all social media.
You can follow our social medias at Might Check waifu.bluesky.social and at Might Check waifu on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. And as always, Might check. Subscribe to the YouTube channel.
You're now tuned into Mic Check Waifu Waifu. Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? Is that